today to do the mid-year book freakout tag. In case you didn't know, this is my sister Jaden. She has her own booktube channel. If you want to check it out, I'll put it in the little card thing there or down in the description. Make sure to go give her channel a follow. But we're really excited to do this book tag before. I haven't done this before. Have you done this before?
I did it like a really long time ago, like when it first came out.
Yeah, I've never done this, obviously, since this is my first year having a booktube channel, but I'm pretty excited about it because I really like watching everyone else's videos about this. So far this year, I've read 56 books, and she's read...
Oh, good lord. I don't know. Let's see. 187.
So she reads a lot, and I don't read as much as her, but we're really excited to go through these different ones and talk about like which ones we've had. It's kind of funny because even though I've read way less than her, I have a lot more answers than I feel like you do, like a lot more books.
Yeah, because I read a lot of crappy books, so I just read everything.
Because
I read too much.
I had a really hard time narrowing them down. And then she had a hard time even finding one answer, even though you've read 100.
Yeah, but I also don't really care about like anything.
So the first question in this tag is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2019?
The best book that I read so far is obviously Heroine by Mindy McGinnis. This is like the one book that stands out of all the books I've read. I just love hard-hitting contemporaries more than anything, and it's a hard-hitting contemporary, extra hard-hitting, and it deals with topics that a lot of young adult books don't talk about.
So I have two best books that I've read so far this year. You probably aren't going to be surprised. One of them is Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Red Rising series right now. I was kind of nervous going into this one because it takes place 10 years after the end of the first trilogy, so you never really know how that's going to go when a book does that, but this one was so perfect. It just seemed so logical in the way that the time had progressed. It didn't seem like weird or anything. It just flowed so naturally, thinking like, where would these characters be in 10 years? And it was exactly what was happening in this book. So I loved that. Then the other best book I've read so far this year is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is just fabulous. It's so giant, but it's definitely worth the read. It takes you quite a while to get through it. At least it took me a while, but it was very much worth the read, and I thought it was so beautiful and just very well developed.
Yeah, this was I read the arc of it last year, so it was a favorite of mine last year.
Okay, so the next question is the best sequel that you've read in 2019.
And mine would have to be Arch Enemies by Marissa Myers. This is the second book in the Renegade series, and I liked this significantly a lot more than I liked Renegades.
That's so funny because I read both of the books as well, and I thought that one, I didn't like it as much as I liked Renegades.
Well, I like the character development in it.
Yeah. Yeah, they do get developed, but the plot line in this one I don't like as much as the plot I liked in the first one. The best sequel I've read so far this year is 100% hands down Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. I actually had this as one of my best books for the year too, but I moved it into the sequel category. But holy moly, this book is so stinking good. The way that it ends off, just like, I just can't even handle it. Like, I need to get the next one right away. But yeah, this book was so good, and it's so funny how a book can start out one way and then it just goes in such a different way that, like, when I read Scythe, I would have never predicted it's gonna go this direction. So I just am really loving this series. Okay. So the next question is a book, or a new release book that you haven't read yet but you are really wanting to get to.
And for mine, it would have to be My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. I keep putting it on hold at the library on Libby, and it gets checked out, and then I go to listen to it and I have too many books to listen to by that point, and then I have to re-put it on hold. Then it checks out, same thing happens, but I swear that this is the last time I've done it, and I did it yesterday, and that's the last time.
For me, it's one that I absolutely loved the first one, and that is Kingsbane by Claire Legrand. I was obsessed with Furyborn last year, and I was like, as soon as Kingsbane comes out, like, I'm going to read it the second it comes out. I was really trying to get an arc, but I wasn't able to, but then now it's been like 2 months and I still haven't read it, but it's going to be on my August TBR for sure. So the next one is your most anticipated release for the second half of 2019.
And mine would have to be Rebel by Marie Lu, because I love this series so much when it was coming out, And so I'm so excited that there's a continuation of it now, and I don't have an arc for it. This is just a sampler, but I'm not going to read this.
For me, it's no surprise. It's The Toll by Neil Shusterman. I just need to get it as soon as possible because I just need to find out what happens next. I cannot, that's the one book that I, can only think about right now that's coming out soon. So question 5 is your biggest disappointment so far this year.
My, biggest disappointment of the year was A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe by Alex White. I had this really hyped up in my head because everybody was like, this is my favorite book I've ever read. And I love sci-fi. But I didn't even finish it because it was so boring.
How far did you read it?
Probably about halfway.
I have 2 biggest disappointing books.
You are really dumb, for real.
And both of them were continuations of series that I really love. First one being Defy Me by Tahereh Mafi. I gave this one 3 stars and it just didn't live up to my expectations of it. I don't think it was the most awful thing I've ever read, but I just don't feel like it was very well done. I felt like it was kind of unnecessary, and the first half of the book could have just been with Restore Me, and then the second half of the book could have just been in the next book, and this one could have just been completely deleted. I don't feel like it was super necessary.
This was a huge disappointment for me also.
Then my other one was Finale by Stephanie Garber. I felt like this was much lower quality than the other books. Just there was a lot of unnecessary things happening in here that played no point for the overall plot and really had no purpose. So I didn't like this one very much either. I think I gave it 3 stars, and all 3 stars were just for Carval itself. I just love Carval, but literally the plot, everything I did not like in this book. So question 6 is your biggest surprise so far this year.
Mine would have to be Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, because I thought that I was not going to like this book very much, and I ended up loving it, so that was...
I really love that book too. Mine was Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard. This book, I had heard some people really loving this, but I thought for myself that it would just be kind of okay. The plot itself did not appeal to me very much, but I read it and I was so surprised by how much I completely adored everything about this book. Okay, so the next one is your favorite debut author or new to you author that you discovered this year.
Mine isn't necessarily a new favorite author, but it's just the one that I'm most interested in reading more from them, and I think her name is Tara Isabella Burnham. I don't know, but she wrote Social Creature.
What? Wait, never mind. I was gonna say, what book did you read? I have 2, and mine are the same as her. I haven't read a ton of new to me authors that are I've read multiple books from this year. I don't think I've even read at all where I've read more than one book by an author, but I have 2 authors that after reading one book by them, I definitely want to read more. First one being Christina Lauren. I really enjoyed Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I'm more interested in their newer releases that are coming out than the books that they had previously, but I just picked up The Unhoneymooners, and I really am looking forward to Twice in a Blue Moon as well. They're kind of moving more in the direction of romantic comedy kind of books, and those are more appealing to me than their previous works, but I'm really excited to read more by them. The other one is Taryn Fisher, who wrote The Wives. I read The Wives just earlier this month and absolutely loved it, so I'm really excited to read more books by her as well. So the next question is your newest fictional crush.
And I was really struggling to find one, so I'm just picking a random one, but please don't take this into heart. And that's whoever the guy is in Joyride by Anna Banks, because I remember that I liked their relationship. I don't know what. I've read 187 books. I don't remember that many names.
And for mine is Xanthus from Blood and Sand by C.V. Wick. He is so swoony, and I loved him.
Okay.
So the next question is your newest favorite character.
And mine is gonna have to be Daphne from American Royals, because she's just bad, and you know, she isn't afraid to do what she has to do to get what she wants. I don't know, it's just, she's a refreshing character.
For me, I really liked Alucard from A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. He is... I think he's a really interesting character. His whole backstory I really like, and his whole like persona I really love. Just whenever there was a scene with him, I was like instantly entertained by his whole personality, and I really liked him. So a book that made you cry.
Oh, I have no answer for this one. I tried to I don't cry in books, and I try to come up with one that like made me almost cry, but looking through every single book I read this year, none of them have even come close to almost making me cry, so.
Same with me, kind of. I was like looking through my list of books, and I haven't cried in any of them either, other than with How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. The author letter made me tear up, kind of. But I didn't cry still. I just thought it was very emotional and it like made me sad. But I didn't like cry. But this book made me the saddest, I guess, out of all the books that I read this year. Now number 11 is a book that made you happy.
And for me, I picked Joyride by Anna Banks because it's not necessarily that it's like a happy book, but it was just a really refreshing contemporary that had a good romance but also dealt with like harder topics at the same time, but it wasn't a hard-hitting contemporary.
The book that made me happiest, I actually already talked.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And that was A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard. I had a smile on my face almost the whole time reading this. It's just so stinking cute and so adorable. Number 12, what is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year?
I don't have it with me, but it is the Goldsboro edition of Priory of the Orange Tree that I got. It's looks like the regular cover, but it has orange pages.
Yeah, I really wish that I was able to get my hands on that one. It's so, so pretty. I have two here. I've actually seen other people mention it too, that they love this cover, and that is With the Fire and High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This cover, like the instant I saw it, I knew I had to pick it up. It's so beautiful. The illustration is just so gorgeous, and all the food and stuff. And on the inside of the book, it actually has like more gorgeous illustrations. So yeah, I love this book. Then the other most beautiful book that I got this year was this edition of Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second book in the Red Rising series, and this is the Subterranean Press edition, and I was so excited to get my hands on this one. It is also signed, but it has this beautiful, beautiful exclusive cover. Okay, so the very last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of this year?
Okay, so the first one that I want to read is The Wives by Taryn Fisher, because I've only read one book by her, and it was okay, but I'm like obsessed with her, so I can't wait. I can't wait to read The Wives.
For me, I picked three, and one of them has been on my shelf for so stinking long, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. I'm really going to try to get this read this year. Last year, I also had it on my must-read before the end of the year list, and that obviously didn't happen, so I am really going to try to get to this one finally.
The next one for me is the sequel to The Darkest Star by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I'm super excited about reading because I love the Lex series, and I loved The Darkest Star so much, so I hope that the rest of the series is still really good but really crappy.
And I have two, the other two are off of my must-read 2019 list, and these are like my two priorities. And the first one is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is obviously the first book in the Lord of the Rings series. I've read The Hobbit, but never read any of the Lord of the Rings, so I'm really excited to finally be getting into this one, and I've been putting it off for way too long.
The last one that I want to read is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I loved Dark Matter by him, and the cover for Recursion is just stunning, and I'm just so excited to read it.
Then my final one is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is another one that every single person has been telling me I need to read, and so I'm going to be getting to it by the end of the year for sure. We finished! So I hope you guys enjoyed watching.
We didn't have a freak out yet.
We didn't freak out, but we did do our mid-year book tag here. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about the books that we read, the books that we want to read throughout the rest of the year. And if you have read any of the books that we are anticipating for the rest of the year, make sure to comment down below and tell us if it is just as good as our expectations are. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to go check out Jaden's channel. It's going to be linked up there and down there, so make sure to go do that. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Arrivederci!